with
Not yet.
fishing with Aunt Marie.
Not yet. I am doing the welcome. So our first major celebrity is our Vice President Education and Celebrity of Uncovering Headliners in the Jungle, Marjane Taylor. She sent me 2 photos, and this, she said, is at the Anaheim Toastmasters International Convention, where she thought it was very considerate that the hotel placed microphones in the showers. She also shared her favorite jungle animal, which is her and her lemur double when the dance music starts. So Linda has already kindly shared all the things that Marjane is looking for feedback on. So please welcome Marjane Taylor with Fishing with Aunt Marie. Fishing with Aunt Marie, please welcome Marjane Taylor.
Thank you. Imagine walking into a room and feeling without a doubt that you're the most important person there. Now imagine a life where you could give that feeling to everyone you meet. That's the gift my Aunt Marie gave to every child in her life. Today, I'll share how she did it and how you can create ripples of connection that leave a legacy of love. I'm the fifth of 5 girls, so growing up, at one time or another, I wore hand-me-downs from all of my older sisters, Charlene, Jeannie, Nancy, and Lily. As the youngest child, if mom was upset, my name sometimes became Shargie Natlet Marjane. My parents did the best they could, but with 5 girls, there were times when I felt interchangeable or even invisible. As a young girl, I remember going to visit my dad's sister, my Aunt Marie, on a small farm in South Dakota. She always made me feel like I was her favorite. When we arrived, she'd often come out of her little cottage wearing a flannel shirt with a Prince Albert tobacco can in the shirt pocket. There wasn't tobacco in it, though. Now, she'd open it up and show us earth and dirt worms, bait for our fishing trip. My dad would crack the same joke he told every time. He'd tell us he was going to call the store. Do you have Prince Albert in a can? Yes? Well, let him out. Aunt Marie made sure all the kids had poles. Everyone but she had one. So she made her own fishing bowl with a branch, a string, and a bobber. She caught just as many fish as the rest of us, probably more. Imagine casting a line from an old cane pole into a still pond with a bobber on the surface, waiting for a fish to strike. The water ripples out from where the line first hits, seems to go on forever. Aunt Marie's influence was like that. She had respect for others and a way of making everyone feel special. I wish the world was more like Aunt Marie. She taught us how we should treat people. When I was 7 years old, my family was visiting Aunt Marie. My sister Lily, who was 9 at the time, got sick. She had a high fever, and my parents took her to the hospital, leaving Aunt Marie to entertain me at her house. I was 7 and worried about my big sister, who was also my BFF. Marie distracted me by telling me stories about what she called her picture rocks, dendritic agates that she had cut and polished. They looked like they had little trees inside the stone. Aunt Marie often took us to look for pretty rocks. Later, she might polish them and make them into a necklace. She enjoyed rock hunting in the Black Hills, and she knew how to identify garnets, quartz, onyx. Aunt Marie had many hobbies and interests that she shared with us. She tatted or made lace that she sewed around the edge of dainty little handkerchiefs. She made big, soft molasses cookies. He'd take us with her to pick wild strawberries. And since they're tiny and hard to come by, she'd often buy a peach or a nectarine to cook with them and make the most delicious homemade jam I've ever eaten. Aunt Marie never forgot our birthdays. She'd send my sisters and me each cards on our birthday with handwritten notes. And often she'd include one of those rock necklaces or that tatted handkerchief. My older sister, Jeannie, told me that when she was 10 or 11 years old, she was alone at Aunt Marie's one day. And Aunt Marie, she asked if she'd help with a project. Well, of course, she said yes. Aunt Marie asked her to take some large leaves that she had collected, trace around them onto some fabric, and then cut the leaf shapes out of the fabric. Well, Jeannie did, and she never thought any more about it until her wedding day, when she opened her gift from Aunt Marie. And it was a quilt that Marie had lovingly made with those cut out fabric leaves on the quilt. As a child, I thought I was her favorite. I thought everyone loved me the most. I mean, who wouldn't? As I got a few years older, I realized that she favored my cousin, Robbie. I'd always looked up to Robbie. She was 3 years older than I was. We played together. She never made me feel like I was being a little pest, but in my head, I worried. Wasn't I the favorite anymore? You know, at her funeral, every niece and nephew from both sides of my Aunt Marie's family were there. I decided then that all kids were Aunt Marie's favorite. I asked my 4 older sisters if they thought they were Aunt Marie's favorite. Jeannie said, well, heavens, yes. When I told Jeannie I thought I was Marie's favorite, she said, well, how could you be? I decided I wanted to be more like my Aunt Marie. For years, I sent birthday cards to my sisters, their husbands, their children, my own nieces and nephews, and eventually some of their children. Until one day I counted and I figured I was sending over 50 cards and letters in a year, and it just became too much. I stopped sending the cards. I was at my older sister's house recently. It's a plane ride away from me, and her 14-year-old grandson made my day when he told me he remembered that I had given him a slinky toy when I visited on his birthday 5 years ago. Then later that same evening, my sister's granddaughter told me that she always felt special because people told her that in one of her pictures, she looks like me. She's a young adult now, but she remembered the cards I had sent to her for her birthday when she was a child. Hearing those stories was like dropping a stone into a pond and watching the effects of Aunt Marie's small actions ripple out to affect others. When was the last time you felt rejected, neglected, or just dejected? Wouldn't it be nice if you had an Aunt Marie to help you feel special? Not everyone has an Aunt Marie, but everyone can be an Aunt Marie by being present for others. Put down those digital dopamine dispensers. We've become disconnected. Kindness begins with connection. Becoming more connected starts with us. I wish I could go on one more fishing trip with Aunt Marie to tell her how much she meant to me. Even if you don't have an Aunt Marie, you can still be an Aunt Marie and leave your own legacy of love. Thank you.
Thank you, Marjane.